Loving yourself is not a cliché. It's not a trend. It's not selfish. It is survival. It is the foundation for every single thing you want in life. Yet most people never learn how to do it. They grow up learning how to impress, how to compete, how to fix their flaws, how to earn approval. But very few ever learn the most important skill of all: how to value themselves, how to show up for themselves, how to live as their truest self without apology. And because of that, life feels heavy. Relationships feel draining. Confidence feels unstable. Happiness feels out of reach. You think something is missing in you, but in reality, you've just never been taught how to love yourself. This is where everything begins. Not money, not success, not recognition, not love from someone else. None of those things mean anything if you don't first know how to recognize your own worth. When you finally do, everything changes. Confidence grows. Fear loses its power. Your challenges don't disappear, but they stop breaking you. Happiness stops depending on who accepts you and starts coming from the inside. That is the truth of self-love. And this audiobook is here to guide you into it. Step by step, truth by truth, choice by choice. So let's begin at the root. Chapter 1. Embrace your true self every single day. Every morning you wake up, you are presented with a choice. Two paths. Two versions of yourself. The first version is the one the world has built for you. The mask. The character. The person shaped by approval and fear. This version dresses the way others expect, speaks in a tone that won't offend, chases goals that don't belong to them, and measures their worth by someone else's standards. This version can win applause. This version can impress. But this version will never feel free. The second version is your real self. The quiet, unpolished truth of who you are when no one is watching. The person who doesn't need to fake strength, who doesn't need to perform perfection, who doesn't need to shrink or stretch to fit into someone else's idea of enough. That's the version most people bury, because they are terrified it won't be accepted. But here's the secret. Real peace, real power, real confidence begin the moment you stop hiding that version. The moment you choose, again and again, to live aligned with your true self instead of your image. And yes, it's scary. The world doesn't teach you acceptance. It teaches you comparison. It teaches you to fix, to improve, to earn permission. It says you must earn love, that you must prove value, that you must constantly apologize for who you are. But the truth is, you were born worthy. You don't need to earn what you already are. The journey of self-love begins with rejecting the lie that you are broken. Pause here and ask yourself, who am I when I am not performing? Who am I when I am not proving? Who am I when I am not chasing approval? That's your true self. That's the version of you that deserves to lead your life. It won't be easy at first. You'll hear voices telling you it's risky, that you might lose people, that you might disappoint, that you might fail. But let me tell you something, what you really lose when you ignore your true self is far heavier. You lose peace. You lose time. You lose years of your life living as a stranger inside your own skin. And that loss is worse than any rejection. Choosing to embrace your true self doesn't mean you'll never face fear. In fact, fear will show up stronger than ever. Fear will whisper, what if they don't accept me? What if I fail? What if I'm not enough? And those whispers feel powerful, but most of them are exaggerations. They are worst-case scenarios your mind writes in panic. One of the most powerful ways to break fear is to ask yourself honestly, what is the real risk here? And can I handle the outcome if it doesn't go well? Most of the time, the answer is yes. Yes, you might feel uncomfortable, but you won't be destroyed. Yes, you might feel awkward, but you will recover. And when you face that truth, fear begins to lose its grip. The problem is, fear rarely shows up as fear. It wears disguises. Sometimes it looks like perfectionism, where you keep waiting until conditions are perfect before you start. Sometimes it looks like procrastination, where you stay busy with smaller tasks instead of the one that really matters. Sometimes it looks like overthinking, where you plan endlessly but never take the first step. Recognizing these patterns is the first step to interrupting them. You don't need to wait for fear to disappear. You need to move anyway. You need to take one step, even with shaky hands. Because confidence doesn't come from imagining. It doesn't come from wishing. It comes from doing the thing you thought you couldn't do and realizing you survived. That kind of proof rewires you. It shifts something deep inside. Once you've seen your own strength, it becomes very hard to believe the voice that tells you you're weak. And here's the truth. Resilience is not about never falling. It's about what you do after the fall. Do you judge yourself? Or do you regroup? Do you give up? Or do you reflect and try again? Resilience is built in the way you treat yourself after the mistakes, after the failures, after the moments that break your heart. And that is where self-love proves its worth. Self-love doesn't mean you never fail. It means you don't abandon yourself when you do. This is how you build trust in yourself. By showing up not just on the good days, but especially on the bad ones. By walking into fear with courage. By choosing your true self over your image. And there is no perfect timeline for this. Some fears you'll overcome in a day. Others might take years. That's okay. Progress is not about speed. It's about consistency. It's about showing up at the edge of your comfort zone and stepping forward, even just an inch, again and again. Remember this, you don't need to feel fearless to be brave. You just need to act anyway. Every time you act in alignment with your true self, even when you feel doubt, even when you feel fear, you reclaim a piece of your power. You begin to live not as a prisoner of hesitation, but as a person who leads their own life. And that shift changes everything. It changes how you carry yourself. It changes how people respond to you. It changes how much of your potential you allow yourself to explore. You deserve a life that is not ruled by hesitation. You deserve to make choices from strength, not avoidance. And that life doesn't begin with one giant leap. It begins with small, consistent acts of courage, acts of truth, acts of alignment. This is where self-love begins. Embracing your true self every single day. And once you make that choice, your entire life begins to open. Fear is the invisible cage that keeps most people small. It's not their lack of talent. It's not their lack of intelligence. It's not even their lack of opportunity. It's fear. Fear of failing. Fear of rejection. Fear of being judged. Fear of looking foolish. Fear of not being enough. And here's the tragedy. Most of those fears are not real. They are illusions. They are exaggerations. They are worst-case scenarios your mind writes to keep you safe. But safe does not mean happy. Safe does not mean fulfilled. Safe often means stuck. Think about how many times you've wanted to say something but stayed silent. How many times you've had an idea but never shared it. How many times you've wanted to take a risk but told yourself, maybe later, maybe when I'm ready. And what happened? Nothing changed. You stayed in the same place. You stayed safe. But safe slowly suffocated you. The truth is, confidence is not something you magically wake up with one day. Confidence is not a personality trait some people are born with and others aren't. Confidence is a muscle. And like every muscle, it grows only when you use it. So how do you use it? You act. You step forward. You face fear. Not when it's gone, but while it's still standing in front of you. Ask yourself right now, what is the worst that can happen? Really think about it. Not the exaggerated nightmare in your head. The actual realistic risk. If you fail, can you survive it? If someone laughs, will you recover? If it doesn't work, can you try again? The answer is almost always yes. Yes, it might sting. Yes, it might be uncomfortable. But it won't destroy you. Most people never stop to realize that. They confuse discomfort with danger. They confuse embarrassment with death. But the reality is you will recover. And each time you recover, you grow stronger. Fear disguises itself in clever ways. Sometimes it shows up as perfectionism. You tell yourself you're not ready yet. You just need to prepare more, fix more, wait until conditions are perfect. But perfectionism is fear wearing a mask. Because conditions will never be perfect. You will never feel 100% ready. And if you wait for that, you'll wait forever. Sometimes fear shows up as procrastination. You keep yourself busy with small, safe tasks so you can avoid the big scary one. You feel productive, but deep down you know you're hiding. And sometimes fear shows up as overthinking. You replay every option, every possibility, every what if in your mind until you're paralyzed. You convince yourself you're being careful, but really you're stuck in analysis. Recognize these disguises. Call them out for what they are. Because once you see them clearly, you can interrupt them. You can say, "This is fear, and I'm not letting it make the decision for me anymore." The truth is, there's a kind of confidence that only comes from action. Not from imagining. Not from reading about it. Not from watching someone else do it. Confidence grows when you take the step you thought you couldn't take, and then realize you survived. You did it. That's the moment something deep inside of you shifts. That's the moment your brain has new evidence to fight back against the voice that says, "You're not enough." Because once you've proven to yourself that you can do hard things, it's hard to believe the lie that you can't. And here's the second truth most people never understand. Resilience is not about avoiding failure. Resilience is about recovery. You will fail. You will fall. You will make mistakes. That's guaranteed. But failure is not the end unless you stop trying. What really matters is how you respond after the fall. Do you tear yourself apart with judgment? Or do you regroup and try again? Do you let one setback define you? Or do you see it as a lesson? Resilience grows when you treat yourself with kindness after the fall. Not with excuses, but with patience. It's not about bouncing back instantly. It's about refusing to give up on yourself in the middle of the mess. Think about it. The strongest people you know are not the ones who never struggled. They are the ones who struggled, failed, fell down, and kept going anyway. They didn't wait to feel fearless. They moved while they were scared. They didn't wait until they felt ready. They acted when they weren't. That's why they're strong. That's why they're confident. Confidence is not the absence of fear. Confidence is the decision to move forward despite fear. And the more you move, the more your life opens. Suddenly, opportunities that once seemed out of reach start to appear. You start saying yes to things you used to run from. You speak up in moments where you used to stay silent. You stand your ground in situations where you used to shrink. And that shift changes not just how you feel about yourself, it changes how others see you. People respect those who respect themselves. They trust those who trust themselves. And that kind of trust begins inside. Here's the reality. There is no perfect timeline for this. Some fears you'll face in days. Others may take years. That's okay. The point is not to become fearless. The point is to stop letting fear make your decisions for you. Because if fear runs your life, you'll never really live. You'll exist. You'll survive. You'll get by. But you won't expand. You won't discover your potential. You won't know what you're truly capable of. And you are capable of far more than you realize. So don't wait for courage to show up before you act. Don't wait to feel strong before you step forward. Strength comes from stepping. Courage comes from moving. Confidence comes from action. Even if your voice shakes, even if your hands tremble, even if your heart pounds, do it anyway, because one act of courage, repeated over and over, creates a foundation of self-trust that no fear can ever break. This is how you build confidence. This is how you take your power back. And this is how you finally start living not as a prisoner of fear, but as the creator of your own life. Resilience is not about pretending everything is fine. It's not about never feeling pain, never stumbling, never questioning yourself. Real resilience is about recovery. It's about how you respond when life knocks you down, when your plans collapse, when your heart feels heavy, when you fail in front of yourself or others. Most people think strength is about never falling. But the truth is, everyone falls. Everyone fails. Everyone doubts. The real question is, what do you do after? Do you stay down? Or do you get back up? Do you punish yourself? Or do you learn? Do you give up on yourself? Or do you trust yourself enough to try again? That's where resilience is built. Not in the wins, but in the comebacks. Think of your lowest moments. The nights you couldn't sleep. The days you felt like nothing made sense. The mornings you didn't want to face. Did those moments break you? Or did you somehow get through? You may not have realized it at the time, but you built resilience just by surviving. You already have proof. You've overcome every single thing that was supposed to end you. You're still here. That's the foundation of resilience. The memory that you've made it through before, and you will again. But here's where most people get it wrong. They think recovery means bouncing back instantly, smiling while they're still hurting, pretending nothing happened. But that's not resilience. That's denial. True resilience is not about speed. It's about consistency. It's not about acting like nothing bothers you. It's about allowing yourself to feel what you feel. Anger, sadness, disappointment, and still choosing not to stay stuck there forever. It's about respecting your humanity and still moving forward. Self-love becomes critical here, because resilience depends on how you treat yourself in those low moments. If you fall and then tear yourself apart with judgment, you weaken. If you fall and then abandon yourself with shame, you stay stuck. But if you fall and then choose to show yourself patience, compassion, and truth, you recover faster, stronger, and wiser. Think of it like this. Every setback gives you two voices. One voice says, "See, you're not good enough. You'll never get it right. You should quit." That's the voice of fear and shame. The other voice says, "Yes, this hurts. Yes, you fell. But you can rise. You can learn. You can begin again." That's the voice of resilience. And you get to choose which one you feed. Resilience also means giving yourself permission to try again without waiting for perfection. Most people pause after a failure and say, "I'll try again once I feel ready." But ready never comes. You don't rebuild trust in yourself by waiting, you rebuild trust by moving, even with shaky confidence. Each attempt tells your mind, "I am still here. I am still trying. I am not done yet." That repetition creates strength. Strength that no setback can take from you. Remember, resilience doesn't erase pain. It doesn't make life easy. What it does is teach you to trust yourself inside the storm. To believe that no matter what happens, you won't abandon yourself again. And that belief changes everything. There's also another piece most people miss. Resilience is not just about how you handle failure. It's also about how you handle success. Because success can be just as dangerous if you don't trust yourself. Think about it. How many times have you achieved something only to immediately minimize it, doubt it, or fear losing it? That's not confidence. That's insecurity wearing success as a disguise. Resilience teaches you to stand steady in both moments, the wins and the losses, to not get carried away by praise, and to not be destroyed by failure. To remain grounded in your own worth regardless of circumstances. And here's the deeper truth. Resilience builds trust, and trust builds power. Every time you go through something hard and choose to come back stronger instead of quitting, you tell yourself, "I can rely on me. I don't have to be afraid of challenges. I don't have to doubt if I'll show up. I trust myself." That trust is the foundation of self-love. Because how can you love someone you don't trust? If you keep abandoning yourself, betraying your own needs, punishing yourself for every mistake, you will never feel safe with yourself. But the moment you begin treating yourself like an ally instead of an enemy, everything changes. Resilience grows in the way you speak to yourself in the aftermath of struggle. Not, "I ruined everything," but, "I learned something important." Not, "I'll never get it right," but, "I'll keep trying until I do." Not, "I can't handle this," but, "I am handling it step by step." These shifts might look small, but repeated over time, they rewire your identity. You stop seeing yourself as fragile. You start seeing yourself as capable. You stop identifying with weakness. You start identifying with growth. And once you trust yourself to recover, fear loses its grip. Because even if things go wrong, you know you'll rise. Even if you fall, you know you won't abandon yourself. And that makes you unstoppable. There is no perfect timeline for this process. Some wounds take weeks. Some take months. Some take years. That's okay. Healing is not a race. Recovery is not a performance. The point is to keep moving even if it's slow. To keep choosing yourself even when it's hard. To keep showing up for your own heart, especially when it hurts. That's resilience. Not perfection. Not performance. but patient, stubborn, relentless recovery. And when you live this way, something powerful happens. You stop being afraid of life itself. You stop hesitating at every risk. You stop doubting your strength. Because whatever happens, you can handle it. This is resilience. This is trust. This is the foundation of a life where you are not ruled by fear, but guided by courage. There comes a time in life when you have to stop waiting for permission to take care of yourself. For years, maybe for decades, you've been conditioned to believe that your value comes from how useful you are to others. You've been taught that being strong means being selfless, that being kind means always saying yes, that being responsible means putting yourself last. But here's the truth. Neglecting yourself is not noble. It's destructive. You cannot live a full, healthy, and meaningful life if you are constantly abandoning your own needs just to keep everyone else comfortable. Self-love demands this shift. Your needs matter too. Think about how often you've said yes when you wanted to say no. How often you've pushed through exhaustion because you didn't want to disappoint someone. How often you've explained, defended, or justified your desire for rest, peace, or solitude, as if your needs required permission slips. That pattern may feel normal, but it's quietly destroying your energy. It's turning kindness into resentment. Survival is not weakness. It's wisdom, because when you neglect yourself long enough, bitterness grows. And bitterness doesn't just hurt you. It poisons everything around you. You can't show up as your best self for others when you're running on empty. You can't give love if you've starved yourself of it. You can't keep pouring when your cup is dry. So let this be the moment you rewrite the story. The moment you stop apologizing for having needs. The moment you stop carrying guilt for taking care of yourself. The moment you remember that you are not an endless machine built to carry everyone else's weight. You are a human being who deserves peace, rest, and joy. Here's the hard truth. Some people will not like your new boundaries. They will not like your new priorities. They will not like that you've stopped sacrificing yourself for their comfort. And that's okay. Their reaction is not your responsibility. Your only responsibility is to live in alignment with what's true for you. Your needs are not optional extras. They are essentials. Sleep, rest, boundaries, peace, alone time, space to breathe, time to heal, activities that nourish your spirit. These are not luxuries, they are survival tools. They are the foundation for every other part of your life. And if you keep ignoring them, you don't just lose energy, you lose yourself. So how do you start prioritizing your needs without guilt? First, get honest about what you actually need. Not what you think you should need. Not what other people tell you to need. What you truly need to feel whole, balanced, and alive. Maybe it's solitude. Maybe it's support. Maybe it's fewer commitments. Maybe it's deeper connections. Maybe it's structure. Maybe it's freedom. Whatever it is, name it. Because if you don't name it, you can't protect it. Second, notice the guilt when it shows up. Because it will. Guilt is a conditioned response, not a moral compass. You were taught to believe that choosing yourself was wrong. But guilt is not proof. Guilt is just old programming. When it rises, don't run from it. Talk to it. Remind yourself, I am allowed to rest. I am allowed to say no. I am allowed to care for myself. Then act anyway. The guilt will fade the more you practice. Third, set clear boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they are doors. They are how you decide what enters your life and what stays out. They protect your time, your energy, your peace. And you are allowed to have them even if others don't like them. Even if others call you selfish. Even if others push back. Because boundaries are not about controlling anyone else. They're about protecting you. And yes, sometimes prioritizing yourself will disappoint people. But remember this, anyone who truly values you will understand. And those who don't, they're revealing that your constant self-sacrifice was more convenient for them than your well-being ever was. That's information you need. Prioritizing your needs also means letting go of the belief that exhaustion is noble, that being busy is proof of worth, that burnout is a badge of honor. None of those things are true. They're traps. And they will drain the life out of you if you let them. Here's what is true. You deserve to wake up to a life that feels good to live. Not a life where you're constantly rushing, constantly fixing, constantly proving. A life that includes you at the center, not just on the edges. When you choose yourself, you create that life. And you don't have to justify it. You don't have to explain it. You don't have to make it look acceptable to anyone else. Because your peace doesn't require approval. Your well-being doesn't need an audience. Start small if you have to. Take 15 minutes for yourself today. Say no once this week. Rest without apologizing. Protect a quiet moment before bed. These small acts build self-trust. They remind you that you matter. They rebuild the foundation you've been missing. And slowly, guilt turns into confidence. Fear turns into freedom. Sacrifice turns into balance. Because the truth is, you are not here to make everyone else comfortable at the expense of your own soul. You are not here to live as an afterthought in your own life. You are here to honor yourself, to protect your peace, to build a life where your needs are not optional but essential. And when you do that, something powerful happens. You stop living resentful. You stop living drained. You stop living as though everyone else's happiness is worth more than yours. You start living as someone who finally understands. My needs matter, my peace matters, and my life matters too. That is not selfishness. That is self-respect. That is self-love. Loving yourself is not just about how you talk to yourself. It's about how you treat yourself every single day. It's not one big decision you make once. It's a series of small, consistent choices that slowly shape your mind, your emotions, and your entire life. Here's the truth. Your mind and emotions don't just need inspiration. They need maintenance. They need care. Just like your body needs food, water, and rest, your mental and emotional health needs daily habits that keep it strong. The problem is, most people live on autopilot. They wake up, scroll their phone, rush through their day, drown themselves in noise, and wonder why they feel anxious, restless, or disconnected. But your mind is not meant to be flooded with chaos from the moment you open your eyes. Your emotions are not meant to be neglected until they collapse. That's why habits matter. Habits are the silent builders of your life. They either build you up or break you down. And the habits you practice daily are proof of how much or how little you truly love yourself. So let's talk about the habits that actually protect you. 1. Create space for silence. Not every thought deserves your attention. Not every feeling requires action. Silence is where you learn to hear yourself. Not the world, not the noise, not the endless demands pulling at you. Just you. When you sit in silence, you notice your thoughts. You notice your emotions. And instead of letting them control you, you learn to lead them. Even 5 minutes of quiet breathing, meditation, or simply sitting without distractions can reset your entire nervous system. Silence isn't laziness. It's strength. It's where clarity is born. 2. Protect your sleep. Sleep is not wasted time. Sleep is repair. Yet too many people treat it like an optional luxury, something you squeeze in after you've drained yourself all day. But here's the truth. Your brain cannot function clearly without rest. Your mood cannot stabilize without it. Your focus, your energy, your creativity, all of it depends on sleep. So create a nighttime ritual. Turn off your devices. Dim the lights. Read something calming. Take a warm shower. Listen to soft music. Let your body and mind know it's safe to rest now. Protecting your sleep is one of the most underrated acts of self-respect. 3. Journal your thoughts. Journaling is not about writing something perfect. It's not about being a great writer. It's about getting the chaos out of your head and onto paper. When you write, you see patterns. You notice what keeps coming up. You recognize the fears, the triggers, the dreams, the doubts. And once you see them clearly, they lose power. They stop running your life in the background. Even a few honest sentences a day can help. Write what's heavy. Write what's hopeful. Write what you don't say out loud. It's not about producing, it's about releasing. 4. Build intentional connections. You don't need a crowd. You don't need to be available to everyone. You just need a few people who see you clearly, who accept you as you are, who remind you that you're not alone. Make time for these people. It could be a short call, a coffee, or an honest conversation. Real connection is emotional fuel. It doesn't have to be constant, but it does need to be intentional. Protect your energy from draining relationships. Invest it where you feel supported. 5. Give yourself something to look forward to every day. This one is simple but powerful. Every day, no matter how busy or heavy, should have at least one small thing that brings you joy. It could be a walk outside, a song you love, a meal you enjoy, or a moment in the sun. These are not meaningless details. They are lifelines. They remind your brain and body that life is not only about surviving. It's about joy too. Without these small joys, life feels like a burden. With them, it feels human again. 6. Be consistent. None of these habits will change your life overnight. They don't have to. What matters is consistency. Showing up for yourself again and again, even when it's not convenient. Because every time you practice silence, every time you rest without guilt, every time you write your truth, every time you protect your energy, you are telling yourself, I matter. I am worth this effort. I will not abandon myself. And that builds strength over time. That creates stability. That develops self-trust. Listen, you don't have to master all of this at once. You don't have to be perfect. You will forget some days. You will slip. You will get busy. That's normal. But as long as you keep returning, as long as you keep choosing yourself, you are moving in the right direction. Because these habits are not chores. They are declarations. Every time you practice them, you are declaring, I love myself enough to protect my mind. I respect myself enough to care for my emotions. I trust myself enough to keep showing up. And when you live this way, life feels different. The storms don't disappear, but you stop drowning in them. The challenges don't vanish, but you face them with steadiness. Your mind feels clearer. Your emotions feel lighter. Your life feels more balanced. Daily habits are proof of love. Not the loud kind, not the showy kind, but the quiet, steady kind that actually lasts. So choose silence. Choose rest. Choose journaling. Choose connection. Choose joy. Choose consistency. Not once in a while, but daily. Because self-love is not something you say, it's something you practice. And the practice begins with what you choose to do today. Your energy is your most valuable resource. It fuels your focus, your decisions, your relationships, your dreams. But here's the problem. Most people treat their energy like it's unlimited. They give it away freely, without thought, without protection, until there's nothing left for themselves. And then they wonder why they feel tired, resentful, invisible. The truth is simple. If you don't set boundaries, people will take more than you can give. Not because they're evil, but because you've trained them that your time, your peace, and your kindness are available 24/7. Boundaries are not selfish. Boundaries are not cruel. Boundaries are self-respect. Without them, you can't thrive. Without them, your energy gets pulled in every direction until you don't even recognize yourself anymore. So let's talk about boundaries, not as walls that shut people out, but as doors that help you decide what comes in and what stays out. When you don't protect your limits, life starts to feel heavy. You say yes when you mean no. You attend events you don't want to attend. You give emotional labor you don't have. You allow conversations that drain you. And little by little, you disappear. Your body tells the truth first. Headaches, tension, exhaustion, burnout. Your emotions tell the truth next. Resentment, irritation, quiet bitterness. You start to feel like you're carrying everyone else's life while your own is slipping away. That's the cost of ignoring your boundaries. Saying no is one of the hardest skills to master, especially if you've been raised to believe that good people never disappoint anyone. But here's the truth. Saying yes to everything isn't kindness. It's self-betrayal. Every yes you give to something that drains you is actually a no to yourself. And self-love requires that you flip the script. It means asking yourself, is this request feeding me or draining me? Is this aligned with my values or pulling me away from them? Do I have the time, energy, and desire for this? If the answer is no, then the answer you give others should also be no. Without apology, without over-explaining, without guilt. A simple, "I can't do that right now." A clear, "That doesn't work for me." A firm, "No, thank you. That's enough." The people who truly care about you will respect it. The ones who don't, they were benefiting from your lack of boundaries, not from your well-being. Many people fear that setting boundaries means pushing people away. But that's not what boundaries do. Boundaries actually make relationships healthier. Because without boundaries, love turns into resentment. Support turns into sacrifice. Kindness turns into bitterness. Boundaries create clarity. They tell people, this is how I need to be treated if we are going to have a healthy connection. They don't cut people off. They invite people to meet you with respect. And those who can't respect you, that's your answer. Limit your availability. You are not required to be accessible every hour of every day. Protect your time like it matters because it does. Control your environment. If certain spaces, conversations, or habits drain you, step back. You don't need to participate in every drama or every debate. Decide what topics are off limits. I don't want to discuss this. That sentence alone can save your peace. Protect your digital space. Unfollow, mute, block. You are not obligated to consume everything or stay connected to everyone. Practice the pause. When someone asks something of you, don't say yes immediately. Say, "Let me get back to you." Give yourself time to decide if it aligns with your energy and values. These small actions are how you train people to treat you with respect. The pushback. When you start setting boundaries, expect resistance. People who benefited from your lack of boundaries will call you selfish. They will accuse you of changing. They will push harder to test your limits. And that's when you need to remind yourself, their reaction is not your responsibility. You are not here to manage everyone's comfort. You are here to protect your own peace. Boundaries may disappoint people, but they will save you. And the people who truly love you will adjust. When you start protecting your energy, you don't just say no to others, you say yes to yourself. You say yes to rest. You say yes to peace. You say yes to growth. You say yes to the version of you that doesn't live drained and invisible. And that yes transforms your life. You stop shrinking. You stop over-explaining. You stop apologizing for existing. You start standing. You start breathing. You start showing up as your whole self. Your energy is limited. If you keep giving it away without boundaries, you'll end up empty, bitter, exhausted. But if you protect it, if you guard it with clarity and courage, you'll have more to give to the people and projects that truly matter. That's not selfishness. That's wisdom. That's strength. That's self-love in action. So remember this. You are not responsible for fixing everyone. You are not required to absorb every problem. You are not an endless resource. You are a human being whose peace matters. And the moment you set boundaries to protect it, your life begins to change. One of the most overlooked forms of self-love is gratitude. Not just gratitude for the people around you. Not just gratitude for the things you have, but gratitude for yourself. Think about it. How often do you stop and thank yourself for everything you've survived? For the nights you stayed awake worrying but still got up the next morning. For the times you kept going when no one was cheering you on. For the silent battles you fought and the quiet wins nobody else ever saw. Most people skip this step. They'll thank others. They'll count their blessings. But when it comes to themselves, they stay silent. They focus only on what they haven't done, what they still lack, what they still need to fix. And so they move through life feeling inadequate, as if nothing is ever enough. But here's the truth. If you never stop to appreciate yourself, you will always feel empty, no matter how much you accomplish. Gratitude isn't just about being thankful for external things. It's about recognizing your own effort. It's about giving yourself credit. It's about pausing long enough to say, I may not be perfect, but I am trying, and that matters. Your brain is constantly scanning for what's wrong. It's built for survival. That's why it's easier to notice problems than progress. But when you intentionally practice gratitude, you shift the focus. You retrain your brain to see what's working instead of only what's missing. This doesn't mean ignoring challenges. It means refusing to let challenges blind you to the truth. You've already come far, you've already grown, and you are already carrying strengths worth appreciating. Start small. Each night, write down 3 things you did that day that you're proud of. They don't have to be big. Maybe you rested when you needed to. Maybe you said no when you usually say yes. Maybe you showed kindness when it was hard. Celebrate those. Speak it out loud. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, "Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for trying again today. Thank you for being patient even when it was hard." At first it will feel strange, but over time it becomes powerful. Replace self-criticism with acknowledgement. When you catch yourself saying, "I didn't do enough today," replace it with, "I showed up today and that matters." Appreciate your body. Instead of hating it for what it isn't, thank it for what it does. Thank you, legs, for carrying me. Thank you, lungs, for breathing. Thank you, hands, for creating. Thank you, heart, for beating even when I forget to care for you. These small acts shift your entire relationship with yourself. Gratitude opens the door. Self-appreciation keeps it open. Because it's not just about noticing what you're thankful for, it's about recognizing your worth in the process. Ask yourself, when was the last time you gave yourself credit? Not just for achievements that others see, but for the quiet things only you know about. The healing you've done, the courage you've shown, the resilience you've built. Self-appreciation means you stop waiting for the world to clap for you. You stop needing external applause to feel enough. You become your own witness, your own encourager, your own supporter. And when you live this way, something shifts inside you. You no longer feel desperate for validation. You no longer chase approval like oxygen. You begin to walk differently, steadier, calmer, stronger, because you already carry the recognition you need. Some people think gratitude is passive, a feel-good practice that doesn't change much. But the opposite is true. Gratitude is strength training for the mind. It gives you perspective when life feels overwhelming. It reminds you of your progress when you feel stuck. It fuels your motivation when you want to quit. It grounds you in the present instead of drowning in the past or future. And when you combine gratitude with self-appreciation, you build an inner foundation that no setback, no criticism, no rejection can take from you. Here's the secret. The more you appreciate yourself, the more you expand your capacity for growth. Because you stop operating from a place of lack. You stop saying, "I'm not enough until," and you start. Take a moment, close your eyes, place your hand over your heart, and say to yourself, "Thank you. Thank you for carrying me through this day. Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for showing up, even when it wasn't easy." Let those words sink in. Let them remind you that you are not just surviving, you are growing. You are becoming. You are worthy of your own gratitude. Because here's the truth. Self-love without gratitude is incomplete. And gratitude without self-appreciation is hollow. But when you combine the two, you create a powerful force that keeps you steady, fulfilled, and strong. So stop rushing past your progress. Stop ignoring your effort. Stop waiting for others to see you. Start seeing yourself. Start thanking yourself. Start appreciating the life you've already built, the battles you've already won, the person you've already become. That's not arrogance. That's not ego. That's alignment. That's truth. That's self-love in action. Everyone carries scars. Some are visible, most are hidden. But the heaviest scars are the ones you carry inside. The mistakes you replay at night, the regrets that haunt you, the words you wish you could take back, the choices you wish you had made differently. Here's the truth. Nothing drains self-love more than self-condemnation. Nothing holds you hostage more than your own unforgiveness. We all make mistakes. We all have chapters of our lives we wish we could rewrite. But the problem isn't the mistake. It's the way we chain ourselves to it. We replay it. We punish ourselves. We keep bleeding from wounds that should have been healed years ago. And the more you punish yourself, the harder it becomes to believe that you deserve peace, joy, or love. You start to identify with the mistake. Instead of saying, "I made a mistake," you start saying, "I am the mistake." That's the trap. But forgiveness breaks the trap. Forgiving yourself doesn't mean you erase the past. It doesn't mean you pretend it never happened. It doesn't mean you excuse harmful behavior. Forgiveness is not denial. Forgiveness simply means you stop carrying the punishment. You stop letting one chapter define the whole book. You stop letting shame narrate the rest of your life. Because here's the truth. You can't grow while you're chained to guilt. You can't love yourself while you're drowning in regret. You can't build a future while you're shackled to the past. Forgiveness is release. It's giving yourself permission to breathe again. Because shame is loud. Shame tells you you're unworthy. Shame whispers, if you let this go, you're weak. If you forgive yourself, you're excusing it. Shame convinces you that punishing yourself is noble. But punishing yourself doesn't heal anything. It just keeps the wound open. Healing doesn't come from shame. It comes from compassion. And compassion says, yes, I made mistakes. Yes, I hurt myself or others. But I am still human. I am still worthy of love. I am still capable of change. That's the voice of forgiveness. Acknowledge the mistake. Don't run from it. Don't minimize it. Name it clearly. Because what you avoid controls you, but what you face loses its power. Learn from it. Every mistake has a lesson. What did it reveal about your patterns, your wounds, your fears? What can it teach you about who you want to be moving forward? Mistakes can break you, or they can shape you. The choice is yours. Apologize if needed. If your mistake hurt someone else, make amends where possible. You can't control how they respond, but you can take responsibility. That frees you from carrying silent guilt. Release the punishment. Once you've acknowledged, learned, and apologized, stop replaying it. Stop dragging it into every new day. Write it down and burn the paper. Speak it out loud and let it go. Release it physically so your mind knows it's done. Practice self-compassion. Talk to yourself the way you would talk to a friend. If someone you loved made the same mistake, would you condemn them forever? Or would you remind them they're human, that they can grow, that they still deserve love? Give yourself that same grace. When you stop punishing yourself, you free up energy for change. You stop pouring everything into guilt, and you start pouring it into healing. You stop being defined by who you were, and you start building who you can become. Think about it, your greatest strength often comes from your deepest wound. The mistake you regret most might be the very thing that teaches you empathy, resilience, wisdom. But only if you stop condemning yourself long enough to learn from it. Maybe no one ever told you this, but I will. You are not the worst thing you've done. You are not the worst decision you've made. You are not the weakest moment you've lived. You are more than that. You are the lessons you've learned. You are the changes you've made. You are the future you're building. The past is a place of reference, not residence. Stop living there. Stop visiting there every night before you sleep. Stop letting yesterday steal today. Imagine what your life would feel like if you stopped carrying the weight of every regret. Imagine waking up without the replay. Imagine looking in the mirror without the shame. Imagine finally breathing without the chains of your past. That's what forgiveness gives you. Freedom, lightness, peace. It doesn't happen all at once. It's a practice. Some days you'll feel the guilt rise again. Some nights the regret will whisper back. That's normal. But every time it does, remind yourself, I've already faced this. I've already learned from this. I've already released this. I will not punish myself again. Over time, the voice of shame fades, and the voice of compassion grows louder. Self-love is impossible without self-forgiveness. Because until you forgive yourself, you'll always hold part of yourself in contempt. And you can't truly love someone you're still condemning. So let this be the day you stop dragging your past into your present. Let this be the moment you put down the weight. Let this be the season where you finally forgive yourself. Not because you're excusing what happened, but because you deserve peace. Because you've suffered long enough. Because your future matters more than your past. You've carried the guilt long enough. Now it's time to carry the lesson and let the rest go. Self-love is not the end of the journey. It's the foundation. Once you've built it, the next step is growth. Because real love for yourself doesn't mean staying the same. It means believing you're worthy of becoming more. Too many people confuse self-love with self-complacency. They think, if I love myself, I don't need to change anything. But that's not love. That's avoidance. Real love says, I am enough as I am, but I am also capable of better. I will not stay small just because growth feels uncomfortable. Loving yourself means giving yourself permission to evolve. It means breaking old patterns. It means challenging your limits. It means refusing to let fear or laziness define your story. Because here's the truth, growth is proof of love. The first step toward continuous self-improvement is honesty. You have to be willing to look at your life without filters. What's working? What's not? What habits are lifting you up? What patterns are dragging you down? This is not about shaming yourself. It's about clarity. Because you cannot grow from lies. You cannot change what you refuse to admit. So be brutally honest with yourself. Stand in front of the mirror and say, this is where I am. This is what I want. This is what I need to change. That honesty is the beginning of transformation. Every time you try to grow, resistance shows up. Your mind says, stay safe. Your body says, stay comfortable. Your habits say, stay the same. But growth never happens inside your comfort zone. Muscles grow when they're stretched. Skills grow when they're challenged. Confidence grows when it's tested. If you want to evolve, you have to make peace with discomfort. Not as an enemy, but as a signal. Discomfort means you're expanding. It means you're moving into new territory. It means you're alive. Anyone can improve for a day. Anyone can commit for a week. But growth is about showing up over and over, even when motivation fades, even when progress feels slow, even when no one is watching. Consistency builds momentum. Momentum builds mastery. Mastery builds confidence. And confidence builds the life you want. So ask yourself, what small habit can I repeat daily that will move me closer to who I want to be? Then commit to it no matter how ordinary it feels. Because ordinary actions, repeated daily, create extraordinary results. The people who stop growing are the ones who stop learning. They think they already know enough. They stop reading. They stop listening. They stop asking questions. And slowly they shrink. If you want to keep improving, stay a student. Read books. Listen to mentors. Seek feedback. Try new things. Be curious. Because curiosity keeps you young. Learning keeps you alive. Every new piece of wisdom you absorb becomes fuel for your next level. In a world obsessed with speed, patience feels like weakness. But growth is slow. Real change doesn't happen overnight. It happens gradually, beneath the surface, until one day you wake up and realize you're not the same person anymore. Don't rush the process. Don't despise small progress. Don't quit just because results take time. Remember, a tree doesn't grow by shouting at itself. It grows by staying rooted, by staying consistent, by trusting the process. So should you? Think about it. When you care for someone, you want to see them thrive. You want them to use their potential. You want them to experience their best. That's love. So why wouldn't you want the same for yourself? Self-love means refusing to keep yourself trapped in cycles that keep you small. It means pushing yourself toward the version of you that's stronger, wiser, freer. It means saying, I deserve better, so I will do better. Growth is not punishment. Growth is love in action. You will never arrive. There will always be another level. But don't let that discourage you. Let it inspire you. Because growth is not about perfection, it's about progress. Be proud of the small steps. Be proud of the lessons. Be proud of the fact that you are trying even when it's hard. Every step forward is a form of victory. Without growth, life feels stale. Days blur together. You feel stuck, restless, unfulfilled. But when you're growing, even slowly, life feels purposeful. Every day feels like an opportunity. Every challenge feels like a chance to expand. Growth keeps the fire alive, keeps your spirit awake, keeps you aligned with who you're becoming. So ask yourself today, where do I need to grow? What patterns am I ready to break? What new habits am I ready to build? What version of me am I ready to step into? Then take one step, and tomorrow another, and the next day another. Because loving yourself means not leaving yourself where you are. It means walking with yourself into better. That's how you prove your love. That's how you build your life. That's how you keep becoming the person you were always meant to be. When you strip away all the noise, all the advice, all the endless self-help checklists, one truth remains. The quality of your life will always rise or fall on the quality of your relationship with yourself. Loving yourself is not about ego. It's not about arrogance. It's not about pretending you're perfect. It's about acceptance, respect, and alignment. It's about treating yourself as someone who matters, because you do. The journey of self-love isn't about arriving at some magical destination where everything feels easy. It's about walking daily with compassion, with courage, with patience, and with purpose. It's about learning how to live a fulfilled life not by waiting for approval, not by chasing perfection, but by showing up fully as who you are and letting that be enough. The world will tell you that fulfillment is external. A bigger house, a better car, more followers, more applause, more status. But here's the truth. If you don't love yourself, no amount of success will fill the emptiness. Because external things can decorate your life, but they cannot define your life. Fulfillment is not about what you have, it's about who you are becoming and how deeply you respect the person you're becoming. Alignment happens when your actions match your values. When what you say, what you do, and what you believe are not at war with each other. Most people live out of alignment. They say yes when they mean no. They stay in places that drain them. They chase dreams that don't belong to them. And that's why they feel exhausted, lost, and unfulfilled. Self-love calls you back into alignment. It gives you the courage to say no when you must, to walk away when it's right, to pursue what truly matters to you. And once you live in alignment, peace follows. You can't love yourself if you're always somewhere else, stuck in yesterday's regret, or trapped in tomorrow's anxiety. A fulfilled life requires you to be here, right now, present with yourself. That doesn't mean you ignore the future. It means you stop postponing happiness for someday. It means you stop saying, I'll love myself when I achieve this, when I look like that, when I get there. Self-love means you start now, with who you are, with what you have. In this moment, here's the paradox. The more you love yourself, the more love you have to give. When your cup is full, you naturally overflow. You're no longer giving out of obligation, resentment, or emptiness. You're giving from abundance. And that's where fulfillment deepens. Not from people-pleasing, but from serving authentically. Not from losing yourself in others, but from sharing your strength with others. Love yourself first, then give. That's how you build relationships and contributions that actually last. Perfection is a thief. It steals your peace. It steals your joy. Convinces you that no matter what you do, it's never enough. But fulfillment isn't about being flawless. It's about being real. It's about saying, I am imperfect, and I am still worthy. I have scars, and I am still beautiful. I've made mistakes, and I am still growing. Once you release perfection, you free yourself to experience life fully, messy, raw, beautiful, real. That's fulfillment. Not in one big leap, not in one perfect plan, but in daily choices. The choice to speak kindly to yourself. The choice to set boundaries. The choice to grow. The choice to forgive. The choice to rest. The choice to keep going. These small, daily acts of self-love compound. Over time, they create a life where you don't just exist, you thrive. Loving yourself isn't something you check off a list. It's a practice. Some days it will feel easy. Some days it will feel impossible. But every day you have the chance to return to it. Return to compassion. Return to patience. Return to truth. And slowly you'll notice the shift. You'll stop chasing approval. You'll stop apologizing for existing. You'll stop betraying yourself for comfort. Instead, you'll stand tall in your own life. You'll carry peace that isn't shaken by chaos. You'll walk with confidence that doesn't need applause. You'll create a life that feels like yours. Not one built from fear, but one built from love. Not perfect, not painless, but whole, grounded, real. Because the deepest fulfillment is not in becoming someone else. It's in finally accepting, honoring, and growing the person you've always been. So let this be your reminder. You are worthy of love, now. You are worthy of peace now. You are worthy of fulfillment now. Not when you change everything. Not when life looks perfect. Not someday. Now. Love yourself. Grow yourself. Live fully. And let that love spill into everything you do. That's how you live a fulfilled life. That's how you make peace with yourself. That's how you win quietly, deeply, truly.